Bel-Air? Have you watched any of the gritty reboot
No.
of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Will. Why don't we get to our mailbag?
Okay.
Because our very first question is about that very subject. This is from Luke. He says, I know this is a well-traveled Tofop area, but with the gritty reboot of The Fresh Prince, just wondering what's next. Maybe the Bob Morrison show, where Bob is an airport sniffer dog on the take. Or what would a gritty reboot of the Tatslotto number reading look like? Missed you guys over the summer break. Have a great year, Luke. So tell me all about look, I must say, I never really watched the original Fresh Prince, so I don't have an opinion on this either way.
Okay, so I loved the original show. Thought it was super funny. Yeah, and Will Smith was like, clearly a star immediately. It has that iconic theme song, that everybody knows. And that is, so I think I've only watched one episode, but so far I really liked it. I think it works as a drama.
Is it gritty?
I mean, yes, I guess so. Like the premise of the theme song, the idea that like, he's West Philadelphia born and raised.
West Philadelphia born and raised.
In the playground is where I spent all of my days. So anyway, the whole idea is he gets into like a beef with a drug dealer. That's kind of the premise of the original one, is that he gets into some trouble and then, they're worried about him. So they send him out but they play it for comedy. But in this, the actual setup of that song, the storyline, the idea that he is this kind of like smart mouth kid living in West Philly, growing up in West Philly, and then like gets into a beef, and it's actually an accidental beef. It was something that he didn't do but got blamed for, and like this drug dealer basically wants to kill him and his friend. And so I guess
a sitcom.
That is gritty, right?
I mean, doesn't really lend itself to a live studio audience, does it?
The weird thing is because the song was so catchy, you forgot how gritty it was in the first place. Like these guys are playing it the right way. It was weird that it was being played for laughs. You're like, there's this, oh my God, it makes me laugh so fucking much. But Gary Goldman, do you know who Gary Goldman is? The comedian, brilliant comedian. But he does this thing where like he does Rodney Dangerfield jokes, but really empathizing with Rodney Dangerfield. So it's like,
getting no respect.
And he goes, you should get some respect, like that's a bad thing, man. I saw Rodney, and Rodney said he went to the doctor and he said, you're fat. And he said, I want a second opinion. He said, you're also ugly. I said, Rodney, that's not acceptable from your medical professional. That's bullying. That is not what, and I think that's how I'm revising the old Fresh Prince. They were covering a lot of trauma through humor. It's an interesting storyline. So the setup is basically that his rich uncle, so I reckon it's his mum's sister who is she's married into immense wealth in Bel-Air.
Okay.
The dude that she's married to, he is like a big fancy, like he's a DA or like a fancy criminal litigator. He's running for office, that sort of thing. Respected, filthy rich community, but he's pulled a few strings to make sure that Will didn't get in trouble. So there's going to be that storyline that like maybe he's overstepped the line a little bit to get Will out there, and his political enemies might go after him for that. And then, so like basically you've got Carlton, who's the sort of snobby older brother, character that you would, kind of remember. And he in this is very much that sort of, the way that they portray him is he's like very entitled rich, very suspicious about like, cool Will coming along. He plays lacrosse. He's got a bunch of frat boy bros who sing the N-word, and he doesn't like it. Like he's cool with it, if you know what I mean, like because they're singing a song. Like, so
are they white frat boy friends, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, that's interesting.
And then you've got the sort of older sister who's like much more lovely to Will, but she's an influencer. Like she's like that. She doesn't really have like a job, but she's like an influencer and like a social. So it kind of works as it's one of those things where you're just like, this story works very well in this modern context. Whether they'll be able to sustain it as a drama over like an entire.
I was going to say, so it's a drama, so it's not at all like there's laughs, but it's not like a comedy by any stretch.
There's comic relief. You know who the main comic relief is so far? Who? Well, Will gets sent a limo or whatever, a car to the airport when he arrives in LA. But the thing is, he doesn't take that car. He takes this fancy old school American muscle car that's driven by this guy called Jeff. And you might might that this Jeff guy might be a little jazzy, if you know what I'm saying. Might like DJ, this Jeff character.
Jazzy Jeff got to eat.
Yeah.
Good on you, Will. All these years later looking after your mate. He's done an Adam Sandler. Here's a job. There you go. To see the full video, join our Patreon.
Patreon.com/Tofop.